Hi guys. So before I start this video, I'm gonna have to apologize because I am going to give a disclaimer in both Spanish and English because I do have only Spanish. I do have some family who only speak Spanish or understand Spanish better than English. So I just want to warn you guys, if you personally know me and not that you don't care, but you feel uncomfortable knowing exactly what happened, I would just skip this video. And if you still want to follow, just move on to the next one when I publish it. But this video is going to go into detail on what I remember of the first day that my father abused me. If you haven't watched my first and second video, I encourage you to watch it because I may say things that don't really make sense, but once you watch them, they'll make sense, regarding the kind of lifestyle we had growing up. So, antes de comenzar, le pido a mi familia, si no quieren ver este video, no los culpo. Es muy gráfico y quizás no quieran verme con esos ojos y está bien. Yo no los culpo. Yo sé que a nadie le gusta saber que a su familia le hicieron daño. So, si no están preparados para saber lo que me pasó ese día y lo siguiente, entonces les pido que por favor no miren este video. I don't need anyone from my family messaging me apologizing for what happened. No one could have seen it coming. Well, many people could have seen it coming, but no one could have done anything. I mean, it's the last thing you would expect to happen in your family. Even if there were signs, you really don't want to see them. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm only sharing this to bring awareness to the issue, and hopefully to end with the ignorance. Para mi familia, no necesito. Yo sé que algunos de ustedes lamentan mucho lo que pasó, pero yo no necesito que me manden mensajes pidiéndome perdón. Ustedes no me hicieron nada a mí. Las cosas pasan y yo estoy bien. So, de nuevo, si se sienten incómodos viendo este video, por favor les pido que no lo vean. Hasta que, si algún día lo quieren ver, está bien, pero que estén muy bien preparados. Y si tienen preguntas, pregúntenme. A mí no me molesta hablar de esto. Lo que yo quiero es terminar con la ignorancia de nuestra familia y terminar con la ignorancia de otras familias, porque yo sé que no somos nosotros. I also just want to finish with ignorance, period, because I know it's not just my family that's gone through this. So, here it goes. So, I was 8, going on 9. Now, I believe my birthday was either in a few days or my birthday had just passed, because me and my cousin, his birthday is September 27, mine's is September 26. So we were actually at a pool party, and from what I can remember, it was a pool party for him. That day, my mom had to leave early because her aunt was very sick. And the birthday party was in Matamoros, Mexico, across the border from Brownsville, Texas. And we went home that night. It was me, my dad, my 2 sisters, and my brother. And when we got home, my mom wasn't there yet. And I remember my dad put everyone in bed. And then I guess I had fallen asleep in the car. And he carried me out of the car. And I remember, because, I was asleep, but I wasn't like all the way asleep. And I remember thinking it was weird because instead of our bedrooms all me and all my siblings slept in one bedroom. We had like bunk beds. The bottom was a queen, the top was a twin. So we all slept in the same room, and my parents slept in the room next to us. So instead, I remember feeling like instead of him going to the right, I remember him going to the left, and I just thought it was weird, but I didn't know what was about to happen. I was wearing this really cute bathing suit that I want to say my cousin loaned to me because I don't think we had bathing suits because we had just moved to Mexico. And so I think they loaned it to me. It was black. It was like black on the back, and then the front it was like a lime green and a blue, and it had a zipper in the middle. And I can't remember if I was wearing shorts or not. I think I was. But I remember him laying me down on their bed, on my parents' bed, but I wasn't like completely on the bed. Like my legs were dangling on the edge of the bed. Only half of my body was on the bed. And I was just like, what's going on? But I was just too tired to like not get up or whatever. And then I remember him starting to unzip my bathing suit. And the zipper was from up here all the way down. And so he unzipped my bathing suit, and then he started touching my breasts. And then he slowly went down and started touching, I don't really know any other way to say it, but he started stroking me, and he started to insert his fingers in me. I froze. It's weird because I just think like, why didn't I like scream? Why didn't I like move? I froze? And I remember just thinking to myself over and over, I had my eyes closed and I just closed them really tight. So I knew he knew I was awake, because it wasn't like my eyes were just like slightly closed. They were like tight. And I remember just saying to myself over and over, like, this is a dream. This is not happening. And I just laid there. I don't know what else happened after that, because the next thing I remember was waking up in my bed. I didn't say anything. I woke up and I was like, was it a dream? I was like just confused. And then I don't remember when the second or third or fourth. All I remember is slowly but surely it became a habit from when we were alone. He would start touching me. He would take off my shirt. I remember he would ask me several times. He wanted me to stroke him, and he wanted me to allow him to put his penis inside of me. And every time he would ask me, or from what I can remember, I would just start crying and, just like plead with him to just leave me alone. I remember one time specifically, we were watching TV and he had me sitting next to him on the couch, and, he was touching me, and I was crying because he wanted me to touch him and I didn't want to. And I threatened him and I told him, you know what, I'm telling mom. And he laughed and he said, if you tell your mom, she's going to be mad at you. I don't remember what the reasoning he gave me was. I just remember him just laughing, like not even caring. And he said, she wasn't going to believe me, or, so this went on for about 3 years. When I started going to middle school, just a reminder, we lived in Mexico and we would go to school in Brownsville, Texas. When I was in middle school, I made this really good friend. And I was on the phone one day with her. And I don't know why. I don't know what got into me for telling her, because I had told no one. No one knew. And it's funny that no one even suspected it, because I remember one time he gave me a hickey and my cousins noticed. And this was like a year or so before telling my friend, before even meeting my friend, I think. And people noticed, but I don't remember my mom ever asking me. I didn't have a boyfriend. We weren't even allowed to go out. So yeah, I mean, I told no one. And so I told her what happened. We were talking on the phone one night. And she convinces me to tell my mom. And I was so scared. I don't even know what I was scared. I mean, I guess, fear of the unknown. So I hung up with her. And which I'm actually glad she's the one I told. And she's been with me throughout this whole ordeal. And sometimes I forget a lot of things, and she's able to tell me, yes, you told me this, or you confirmed this, or she's like, it's not in your head. This is what you told me happened. So even if I do forget things, she's there to tell me, no, this is what happened. So anyways, hung up the phone with her, and I go into the living room, and my mom and my sister are watching TV. And I look at my mom, and I'm like, okay, how do I say this? And I don't even know how I said it. I just, was like, Mom, and I started crying, and she was like, you're scaring me. What's going on? And I told her, Dad has been doing stuff to me for about 3 years now. And I don't think, even to this day, I don't think she knows exactly what he did. She never really asked. But that night, she left and went to Mexico, because my dad wasn't able to come to Texas. So she went to our house in Mexico. She got our things. I don't know what happened that night when she went over to get our things, but she came back. And, I felt like all was good. Weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The last thing I remember was us going back. I don't know if it was the next day or a few days later. We went back to get the rest of our things. And so for my siblings to say goodbye to him, because, we were leaving him. And so I remember I was in the back seat of the car, and I have my younger sister, my younger brother. My mom got out of the car. My older sister got out of the car. And I'm looking through the rearview mirror, and I see my older sister crying and hugging my dad. And I just felt like so guilty, So we left. My mom told my dad's mom. She told my dad's 3 sisters and his brother. And I can't remember, I think it was the next day or the following days, but I'm pretty sure it was the next day. They took us shopping. They took me shopping. They didn't ask anything. I remember I could see it in their face. They really didn't know what to say or do. But they took us, took me shopping. 2 weeks later, I remember my mom sitting at the edge of the bed, and this is one of those things that I didn't remember, but my friend was able to clarify, because I spoke to her and I told her what happened afterward. So my mom was sitting at the edge of the bed, in my room, and she asks me if I can forgive my dad for what he did. That my older sister and my younger siblings need a father, and they love him and they miss him very much. So It was totally my decision. That's what she told me. She said, it's up to you if you want to forgive him. And so I decided, well, she is the mom, I guess, a child does need their parents. So I said, okay. And I forgave him. It wasn't, I don't know if it was really forgiveness or just kind of, let's forget this ever happened kind of thing. So we moved back, and never again did he touch me or do anything to me. I always wanted to believe that if something ever happened to me, I would scream, I would do something, because I swore I wasn't going to let it happen to me again. But in 2015, I was stationed in Germany, and I was with my younger sister. Let me backtrack a little bit. My younger sister was 21. No, at that time she was 20, I think, or 19. I'm sorry, she was 18. And she just graduated high school, and she wasn't doing anything. So I was stationed in Germany, and my husband and I had just had a baby, and my husband was doing a lot of traveling. So I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, she's not doing anything. You think it would be okay for her to move to Germany with me? And so my sister agreed. She was ecstatic, and I brought her over, got her German visa, and she came to live with me to take care of, to help take care of my son. And so in 2016, we went to the Volksfest in Grafenberg in Germany. And it was me, my sister, my baby, and my husband. And we get on this ride that my husband begged me to get on. I'm terrified of carnival rides. So we get on this ride. It's a big circle, and it's a slingshot. You sit in the ball, and it just like shoots you up in the air. So I sit down, and the guy comes to strap me in, and he did more than strap me in. He groped me, and I froze. And I closed my eyes really tight. And I was like, this did not just happen. My husband had no way of seeing, because you have this thing in the middle, at least the one we got on. It had this thing in between us. And you have the two hard straps. So the strap, he had to make sure it was tight, but instead of going on the outside, he went on the inside, and his hand went under, which there's no reason for that to happen. But, and he, squeezed, and I froze. And I didn't say anything. I sat there, and we actually ended up buying the video to that ride. I have yet to see the video, and I honestly, I think I threw the video away. I attempted to see it one time. I put it in my computer. I have a Mac, and it didn't read it. And so I was like, okay, well, it's not meant to be. I guess I wasn't ready to relive it. So that was in 2016. No, I'm sorry. That was in 2015. I didn't tell my husband. I did not tell anyone. I was so embarrassed by the fact that I didn't say anything. I sat there frozen. I forgot. I remember when I was on the ride, I wasn't even scared of the ride anymore because I was so focused on what had just happened. And I remember when the ride was done, I could not get off of it fast enough. And if I see that man in front of me right now, I would have no idea it was him because I didn't want to look at him. Nothing. I was so scared and so disappointed in myself for not saying anything, for not doing anything. So I didn't tell my husband. In 2016, so over a year later, we had PCS. We had moved from Germany to Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And my stepson was living with us. It was me, my sister, my stepson, my husband, and my son. And so my stepson was starting to get into running, or he had been running, and I convinced him to do the Army 10-miler with me in Washington, D.C. So we went as a family, well, my stepson, me, my husband, and my son. We went to Washington, D.C. for the 2016 Army 10-miler. While we're there, coincidentally, we're watching TV, and we're watching the news, and the Donald Trump video came out. Talking, the one that talks about him groping women, him touching women, grabbing women. That's what it was saying. And my husband was, laughing about it. And he obviously had no clue what had happened to me, a year back. He wasn't laughing about it, but he just didn't. I had a really big issue with that statement. And my husband had no clue why I was taking it so personal. And neither did my son, my stepson. And so I had to explain to my husband later on why I took that video so personal. It was getting to me because every time I would turn on the news, every time I would turn on the radio, there were men and women of every ethnicity, every background you can think of, questioning why a woman wouldn't say anything after they've been groped. I heard a lot of, if she didn't like it, she would have said anything. She would have said something. And I took it very personal because of my experience. So I had to tell my husband what had happened, and it was hard. It was hard telling him that, but I was able to finally come out with it, which felt very relieving. It was a huge relief. So later, that moment passed. My younger brother, was in jail. And his girlfriend, the mother of his children now, he's got more than one, was living at home with my mom and dad. And, excuse me. And my older sister called me, and she tells me, well, she's saying that dad has been inappropriately touching her. No, that he was making sexual advances at her. She was saying that. And my sister said, I don't know if we should believe her or not. And I was like, look, his history. I don't know her, which, I spent very little time with her. So I don't know her. I was like, I don't know if she's going to lie about that, but we know what dad has done. So, who knows? After that, after my sister and I had these conversations, I got put in a position where I didn't know if I should tell my brother what my dad had done to me, because I don't think my brother was believing his girlfriend. I didn't know if I should tell him or not. So I joined several Facebook groups to kind of ask for advice. This is what I've been through. Does anybody have any advice? Should I tell my brother? He has such a clean image of my dad, because he had no idea what had happened to me, that I didn't want to ruin that. So I joined these Facebook groups, and I ended up not telling my brother. And so I stayed on these groups. I kind of found it, a sense of relief to see that I wasn't the only one. I had never joined a Facebook group, or had done any research or anything like that when it comes to victims of sexual abuse, childhood trauma, nothing like that. I never looked into it. So I stayed on that page. I don't want to say it felt good, because obviously you don't want to know that other people have had it, rough too. But I was happy knowing I wasn't the only one. And so one day I'm at an appointment and I'm looking through the page, and I read a post describing your typical victim of childhood abuse. And it was, it was describing my little sister to the T. And it was like I started getting all of these flashbacks of how my little sister was. And we're only a few years apart. We're about 6 years apart, I think. 9, 10, 7 years apart. And I was thinking, after I read that post, it just came to me. I was thinking of the way she was acting when we were in Germany, and me and her would fight, and she would give me like this blank, hateful stare sometimes. And after reading that post, I got like flashbacks. And the first thing that came to my mind was, man, she looks at me the way I used to look at my mom before my mom knew what had happened. Kind of like that look where I really want to tell you why I'm hurting, but I can't. My sister was giving me those looks, and I never saw it. I never saw it. And it was horrible. I called my older sister when I left my appointment, and I told her, you know what, I think something happened to her. And she was like, no, why would you think that? And I was like, look, I read this thing, and at this point I'm crying, I'm bawling, I'm just like, what do I do? I have to go home and see her. Like, I was already on my way home. And so I was in my driveway, and I felt like I was in my driveway forever talking to my older sister. And she was like, you know what? Just ask her. That's the only way you're going to know the truth. And so I put myself together, because I got the kids at home and I don't want them to freak out. And I pull myself together. I go inside, and I ask my stepson to watch my son. I was like, I got to go talk to my sister. Can you watch him? And he was like, of course. So I get my sister, and we go down to her room. I was like, I gotta ask you something. Mind you, I was trying to protect his image, because from what I saw, he was a great dad, and I didn't want to ruin that for my siblings, my 2 younger siblings, because they didn't know what happened to me. And so we're in her bedroom, and I asked her, did you have a perfect childhood? And she said, yeah. And I was like, are you sure? She's like, yes. And I was like, okay. So you wouldn't change anything. You would relive your childhood the exact same way. You wouldn't change a thing. And then she just stared at me. And she said, and then I saw her get teary-eyed. And she said, Ruby, why are you asking me this? You're scaring me. And then I stare at her, and I'm trying to choose my words very carefully. And I say, I need to make sure that what happened to me didn't happen to you. And as soon as she said that, as soon as I said that, she started crying. And I hugged her, and I asked her, I was like, who did it? I hugging her, and I asked her who did it. And she said it was Dad. And I can't remember how long we sat there and just cried. And I go upstairs. I grab my phone. I don't know who I called first. I don't know if I called my mom or my dad. No, I called my mom. I call my mom, and I'm screaming at her. I'm screaming at her. I don't even know what came out of my mouth. All I know was I was pissed because she made the decision to put us back in that house. After we went back, he never touched me again. But now I know why. After I hung up with her, I called him. No, he called me. Confused. And I was able to get all of my anger out. Everything I didn't tell him. Mind you, the last thing, when we went back, the last time we had ever spoken about what happened to me, which we didn't even talk about it, but I can't remember how long after it was, but we were driving, just me and him. And he just was like, I don't know why you said anything. I know you liked it. And I just told him, I need you to stop. And he never said a word after that. So he tried to play stupid. And he called me and he's like, what's going on? Why is your mom mad? And I told him off. I was able to get a lot of anger out. Not only for me, but for my sister. And that was the last time I ever spoke to him. And so I put my sister in therapy. And come to find out, as soon as we moved back in, he started abusing her. And he abused her up until I moved her over to Germany with me. So he abused her for 13 years. And no one saw it. No one noticed. No one said anything. Come to find out, we had an aunt that would go and clean the house. My mom had her aunt go clean the house once in a while. And apparently she heard my sister crying one time or a few times while she was my aunt was downstairs. She heard my sister crying in her bedroom, and she knew my dad was in the bedroom. And she would hear my sister telling him to stop. But she didn't want to think that was happening. Come to find out, that aunt was abused as well. So I made a public post on Facebook. Excuse me. And I outed them. I outed my dad. And, I kind of felt bad because I let it be known that my aunts knew. My grandmother knew, everybody knew, and nobody said nobody said a thing when my mom made the decision to take us back into that house. No one stopped her. Whether they tried or not, I have no idea. But a lot of people, a lot of family members were mad. But on the same token, a lot of people were happy. And I found out other cousins had been raped. Found out other family members had been raped. Family members being molested left and right. No one said a thing. No one said a thing. I was not my dad's first victim. It could have been prevented. It could have been prevented way before I was born. You know, the only memory I have of my mom telling us the beginning of my dad and her's relationship. My mom was 14 and my dad was 21. And I remember her telling us that she was driving in a car with him and she was holding on to the door. And I think she said he asked her, why is she holding? No, he didn't ask her. But I remember her telling us that she was holding on to the door because she was scared of him. And in case he would go in another direction, she had it planned out to her. She was going to jump out of the vehicle. So the signs were there. I guess she saw him as a kid. She saw the signs. And I don't even know what to say to that. But his mother, his sisters, they knew some things about him. No one ever put him in jail. No one ever publicly accused him. My dad, Francisco Javier Hernandez Gomez, was a chief of police. I don't really know how to say it in English. He was the comandante de la policía in Matamoros, Tamaulipas. Highly respected man. Had abused so many women probably from the time he was a teenager. No one ever said anything because we had a good family name. I don't know. But it has taken me years to be able to talk about this without crying. Strong Hope in Utah has a lot to do with my recovery, but I wouldn't really call it a recovery because I still struggle. I have been avoiding making this video because I've been too busy, but I haven't been busy at all. But I just come up with excuses. And today I had a friend call me and I'm talking about it with her, and I realized that I was scared of doing this video because I didn't know how I would feel about it. So that, not just what happened to me, but what happened to me shaped who I am today. But also realizing it happened to my sister, I think it made me want to fight more. Because I don't like going into my hole. I don't like sleeping all day. But when you sleep all day, I mean, you don't gotta think about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video because think that's it. I don't really want to talk about other things right now, only because there's other important things I want to talk about. I want other people to hear. And those people who couldn't watch this video, I don't want them to miss out on important things that I have to say. So thank you for watching.